So welcome into Game 1 of the Ace match between Spinal Tap and the Killer Pikachus. Spawning down here in the lower right-hand position of ESV Ohana in the teal color, playing for Spinal Tap. His team up 5-1. Can he bring a really nice clean sweep? It is Gloomzy. And spawning up in the upper left-hand corner in the yellow color, playing for the Killer Pikachus, it is MachinatioN. These are both players we've casted before, so it'll be interesting to see how they match up. Again, Spinal Tap has claimed victory this week, 5-1, pretty insurmountable, even with 2 wins in the Ace match. MachinatioN couldn't quite bring that back. So this is mostly for score. If MachinatioN can 2-0 Gloomzy, 3-5 loss isn't the worst thing in the world. You only lose 2 points for that, which you can make stronger and better next week. For Spinal Tap, however, getting 5-1, basically any of your close losses are just gone in terms of map score, and can be really great as we head into the playoffs. Probe coming in here to harass the SCV building barracks, and to anybody who actually does that, I would like to give a hearty fuck you on behalf of every player. He actually loses the SCV. Kind of a disheartening way to start the game. MachinatioN keeping us out Probe alive, preserving everything, and seeing no gas as of yet from Gloomzy, which is, I guess, the most valuable bit of information. Again, this is a best-of-3 ace match, so no matter what, we'll have at least one more game between new players. A simulator coming down, normal timing for MachinatioN. Be able to throw down its cybernetics core, start his warp gate, and then throw down an expansion if he so desires. He can, of course, do something a little bit more aggressive. That's kind of what I've been surprised with so far in CTL. There hasn't been that much cheese. Nobody's desperately trying to win the game. A lot of players seem to be sitting back trying to play macro games and really improve that way and show how much they've improved. As I said that, people probably playing out the cheeses. Oh, but if I 7-pool now? I'm watching you. Anyway, Gloomzy throws down command center, 1 rack expand. Standard thing in the world. He'll follow up probably with 2 more barracks. Sorry, 2 more barracks followed by 2 gas guys. There's nothing out of the ordinary in any way from Gloomzy. MachinatioN, meanwhile, doing something very similar. He was trying to block that SCV. That was a cute little bit of micro from MachinatioN. Again, these are our platinum aces, so if we check their APMs, 124 to 68, it looks like Gloomzy doesn't quite appreciate his spamming as much in the early games. I guess we can check back in on that later to see where both our players are at. I believe, congratulations on order to MachinatioN. I believe he was just promoted to Diamond. If I'm wrong, sorry about that. But if so, congratulations, MachinatioN, on your promotion. Gloomzy, meanwhile, of course, the most standard thing in the world. He did only follow up with 1 gas geyser, which is the most standard thing in the world. There's finally the nexus from MachinatioN. He's really been focused on getting these units out and trying to put on a little bit of pressure to his opponent. As you see, there's no bunker here, and he might be able to do a lot of damage. There's only 4 Marines, and if he uses this Zealot really well, he can tank a lot of damage, and it does look like he'll be able to get Marine, maybe 2. Oh, he does lose his Zealot bow, and he'll be forced to retreat with his Stalker. That could have been controlled a little bit better by MachinatioN, but as it was, that's a decent amount of damage to do. He traded the Zealot for a Marine and an SCV. Nothing too bad. And if we look, surprisingly, MachinatioN with a gigantic worker lead, 27 to 19. That can't all be attributed to Crow Boost, of course. It looks like Gloomzy has been cutting his SCVs a little bit, and that might come back to haunt him come the mid to late game. But you see Tech Lab finished up, everything looking very normal. He's not in any hurry to tech up, which means that his medevacs are going to be very late, and these stalkers are so annoying. He does finally finish the bunker, and that's going to prevent any further attempts from MachinatioN. But a nice little bit of damage. He didn't even lose the stalker. or either of the stalkers, and we see 300 resources lost to 100, killed 4 workers. Like, everything looking very good so far for Machination. He needs to transition that nice little bit of damage into a solid game plan, though. He's going up to 3 gates in a row, starting to saturate his natural with a couple more probes. And our pro class player just warping in them gateway units. It's interesting to see how the TVPs kind of evolve. We've watched a couple of them so far today, and just to see how far they've come through the different leagues. We see Machination finally throwing down his factory. There's the engineering bay as well. It's kind of interesting to team up with it. You can start his +1 weapons immediately, and you'll have enough gas to start. There it is, the start port. You'll have to wait a little bit, but there's the reactor. So everything looking very normal back in the land. He's getting a second barracks. I think he's, or a second bunker, excuse me. I think he's really worried about some pressure from Machination, especially after doing that little bit of damage. If he immediately decides that that was enough, he can go and use that advantage to kill him. Machination could be doing a 6-game or 7 follow-up attack and just over his opponent. See, that's not the idea that Machination has. Instead, he's trying to extend his economic lead and just play very safe and very standard. A couple of observers out, and the first one headed across the map. This would be about the timing for Banshees. So it's good to make 2 as the class player, just in case the Banshees headed out on a different path. You don't want to be caught without detection, basically what I'm saying. Now Gloomzy starting his powder production. He does have Stimpack nearly done. He's adding on 2 more barracks as well, going up to 5. And this is quite a bit of production on just the 2 bases. So this might be his plan, a gigantic base timing, maybe with just a handful of medevacs, 2 or 4, and try to do some damage that way. You see the 40,000-ton scout factory headed out. The most efficient way to scout, of course, is the scout factory. The rocket launchers mean that it's very cost efficient. This is all entirely sarcastic, if you didn't catch that. Anyway, observers headed out. Gloomzy, or Machination, excuse me, able to spot all of Gloomzy's production. Of course, since this is platinum, you don't want to make your observers very obvious and just hide them over your opponent's army, because that's a pretty surefire way to get them killed. This is a really standard push coming out now from Gloomzy. Medevacs, and we'll see how Machination tries to deal with it. He does lose a Zealot there. There's only Zealots and 2 sentries here to defend. This is going to be kind of an interesting defense for him. There's SCV along with this. I wonder if Gloomzy wants to build a bunker. But this is kind of a nice poke. He can hide these for days, and with the Guardian Shield, the Guardian Shield will definitely help for Machination. That's really nice work with the Observer, getting in. He sees where his opponent's army is. Gloomzy can be forced to retreat. He can even stim and run away. They're fighting. He splits off some of his army, trying not to get it surrounded by Zealots. He's losing a pretty good chunk of it. Again, there's no anti-air here, so he can just pick up and run away. So nicely done by Gloomzy. I think the trade went a little bit better for Machination, but nothing too bad for either player. And behind this, Gloomzy doing what he needs to do, getting that 3rd command center. His factory now in position to scout out his opponent's 3rd. A bunch more Zealot warping in, and this is kind of a strange unit combination for Machination. He needs just enough sentries to force field the bio units in so that the Zealots can do a whole ton of damage. And it even works well with Colossus as well. So that's really what he's relying on, just having enough sentries to field off chunks of his opponent's to get those Zealots to engage on them. Again, the Force can work against you, though, and you can get your Zealots up against them and have them not do any damage. You need to run around the force fields to get the Marines and Marauders. So it'll really come down to that. Charge is a great upgrade to have with this, and we see he's got it as well, which just helps with drop defense. It's not much more important than that in this matchup, unless you're doing some sort of blink timing attack. And it's pretty good on this map, just to point it out, because there's a lot of cliff area. I think you can even blink up that little cliff there if you have vision. But yeah, now Gloomzy moving back on the map, staying very active with his units, making sure that he has control of the watchtowers. Machination not quite aware of this yet, And that Zealot's going to fall. So now we'll see if either player really wants to engage now. We do see a flanking probe here going to be taken out. Not the luckiest probe in the world. We had the luckiest probe in the world in a game earlier. That one apparently not his brother. So after seeing that probe, it's going to be looking for pylons. Really nice. You don't really want to engagement, especially ramp against classes. So just looking for pylons at least gives him something to do with his army. If we look, he didn't actually set that pylon. So this is kind of interesting. It looks like he's trying to get in position to do a drop. He may go and try and take control of the watchtower again. But regardless, Gloomzy staying active with his army, which is really good practice to get into, as it'll help you not get caught by anything. He was able to scout those Colossus as well, started his Vikings. He's got 4 of them now. Again, 4 Vikings versus 2 Colossus isn't a great number, but anything helps. As we saw in our game with McBainer, if you don't have those Vikings, your army just kind of gets ripped to shreds. So Gloomzy setting up. This is kind of a contain. If you see this factory over the third, mean Machination can't just run over there and take that when it's scouted, and Gloomzy can just run over there and snipe it, or at least plant some drops. There isn't a whole lot of anti-air here, so Vikings are really good to scout with. One almost does fall, and he does lose one. You don't want to lose the Vikings, of course, but any scout information that you can gain is really invaluable. Tempo has this done. He's using Storm, as well as Gravitic boosters for his Observer. I'm not sure why that's so important to him right now, but it can be useful. I'll give him that. Nearly done. We don't see any Templar yet trying to gain that energy. There we go. There's our work in a Templar. So there's 5 of them out now. 5 Templar, 3 Colossus. Those are perfect numbers each, at least for a first engagement. Gloomzy will have to be really careful about the way he does this. Only half the army engaging for Gloomzy. I don't know if he's keeping it spread to try and combat the Colossus for Templar. A blink back there by Machination to help his Zealots try to engage. And they've got all of the Vikings. There's still 2 Colossus left alive. He does have more than the Archons because he didn't have Storm done. And it looks like Gloomzy's actually, the little bit of a spread was very effective. And actually, the power of that army, if he had a store or 2 available, the fight looks entirely different. But as it was, the time was so. And that worked out very well for Gloomzy. He's taken a pretty big lead. He's had his 3rd base forever, and he's able to prevent his opponent's 3rd with his factory. And everything looking really good for the Terran player. Machination now has to focus on rebuilding an army, getting some of that splash damage back, and can't focus on getting that 3rd base. We see 57 SCVs to 50 probes. You don't make too many more than that on the 2 bases for Machination. Just because you can't take your 3rd right now. If he tries to take his 3rd, Gloomzy will just go ahead and kill him. This is kind of cute by Machination. He's going to send 2 Zealots into his opponent's 3rd. It's not a planetary or anything, so these Zealots may do quite a bit of damage. Gloomzy, meanwhile, looks like he wants to take his 4th. And they're starting to get some of these SCVs. The army a little bit out of position. There's not a whole lot left to try to get with it. So he will get a couple of these SCVs. 9 workers killed. That's not too bad. But there's a small gather by bio units, and we do have the engagement. Gloomzy trying to push up the ramp. Oh, this Storm doing so much damage from Machination. Feedback coming down onto some of the medevacs, and this is going to get all cleaned up. Gloomzy caught a little bit on his multitasking, not as good as you hope. He does get that Colossus at the end. That's a nice little snag for him. But now he trails in supply. Machination can finally take a 3rd, but of course, Gloomzy has his 4th done. Or nearly done, I should say. So the Terran player trying to stay 1 step ahead of our Protoss, and Gloomzy has added on. We can see kind of his base, the amount of production that he has available to it. Making more Vikings. It looks like Machination's trying to get just a solid mix of Colossus and Templar. We see 7 Templar, 1 Colossus nearly out, and just Machination trying to get to that money mixture. He's not trying to catch his opponent off guard with tech switches necessarily, but just trying to get a solid army that really can't be countered. 4th base finishes up for Gloomzy. He's still ahead of 9 supply. Most of that, of course, will be workers, but a little bit of an army supply edge as well. Although that's not the biggest deal because Protoss just trade more efficiently, especially with Storms and Colossus. Machination looks like he wants to get a little bit aggressive here. Zealot will scout out the 4th base. He'll head in and maybe get an TV here too for his trouble. Needs to get that mule. Damn, denying some rolls. Of course, this will be cleaned up, but more importantly, he actually draws his opponent's army into a couple different sections. This would be a great time to engage. That's up a natural flank as well. Storm coming down on half the yard. Storm needs to come up the cliff. All doesn't have any vision up there anymore. As the Colossus falls, there's a Storm now at the bottom of the ramp, only catching a handful of the units. There's another Storm. Gloomzy doing a decent job trying to micro back. Feedback coming down on the medevac. This is kind of a weird fight, but it does look like Gloomzy is going to be able to hold these Archons. Maybe? I'm not entirely sure. Reinforcement Zealots coming in, but in comes the reinforcement Bio for the flank. He picks off the Archon. Now he needs to step away from these Zealots, which he isn't doing, but that's not the biggest deal. Warp Prism actually goes down immediately, and that's kind of a big... Now, as we kind of reset, Machination still, he's on 3 bases to his opponent's 4, but he trails so significantly, 126-64. More bio units. We see very nice production back behind everything. But Gloomzy, just looking at the ADM, 122 to 91, very good from both players. Ship weapons level 2 coming out for those Vikings. Try to take down Colossus even faster. As we see, Machination's kind of abandoned Colossus. He's warping in some Archons, got a couple of Templar. Really, he's starting to run out of money. He does have that 3rd base, which is a saving grace right now in this game. If he loses the 3rd, that's game over. But now he is kind of spread out on the middle of the map. Pylons, observers everywhere for Gloomzy, or for Machination, excuse me. Gloomzy moving across the map, picking up. Looked like he wanted to go up into 4th to see if it was there, but it's not. I don't know if he's aware of that. If you look at his scouting information, he hasn't that he should. That's there. Now we'll head in. The Storms have to be perfect from Machination if he's going to win the fight, but it does look like Gloomzy going to back off. He's nearly maxed now. 174 supply. He doesn't have any of those real power units. We see he's got 6 Vikings, no ghosts. But picking off a pylon here, picking up anything he can. And again, I'm going to praise Gloomzy, staying really, really active in his army, able to spot everything going on the map. Now Machination starting to get a little bit back in the game. His economy going with that 3rd base. He needs a 4th pretty soon, though, because Natural's starting to run dry. And soon he'll be in a tough spot again. The contain on 2 bases didn't quite work out for Gloomzy, but now he can kind of contain his opponent on 3. Getting his Ghost Academy, very valuable transition, and he needs to get EMPs onto these Templar. Again, the Storm to be so perfect for Machination if he's going to win. Then comes the engagement. There's just so much in here. Dodging Storms. Those don't stack, by the way, so that didn't do the most damage, and even dodges most of it anyway. That's a good Storm. Eating a lot of these Marauders alive. The medevac's all still alive somehow, and there's 10 of them, so that army just getting rehealed very quickly. And now Templar running low on everything. There's actually no more Storms available. Gloomzy's down 179 supply to 97. And Machination wants to fight. It's very, very strange to me. Looks like he's checking to see where his opponent's army's at. Warping in more Templars. Probably for a couple of Archons. Now Gloomzy doesn't want to get caught in this choke point. He's going to take these destructible rocks. It's really smart of him. Next image. Archons just do finish up. Zealots trying to engage. There's a couple of Storms available. We see him hiding away from everything. Only really gets a couple of medics. Those are better Storms, doing a lot of damage to this bio army, but there's just so much from Gloomzy. He's out of Storms. There's only Archons and Zealots left to defend, and this looks like it's going to be it for game number 1. Last ditch repurpose Zealot trying to clean everything up. That's not going to be enough. Machination says GG, and he is taking game 1 for Team's final tap. It's ace match. So that doesn't necessarily earn him a point, but it will make sure that the Killer Pikachus don't earn 2. So we'll head into game number 2, the ace match, in just a second. Watching Spinal Tap versus the Killer Pikachus, casted by Meristomatic. Please stay tuned. Game number 2 of the ace match yet to come.